Alexander was finally accomplishing his childhood dream, marching alongside his father in a military campaign. The Macedonian army sailed towards Greece. Several cities and Greek states were joining forces to halt the expansion of the Macedonian Empire's power. An unlikely alliance was formed between Thebans and Athenians, who were enemies. Demosthenes, the most famous Athenian orator and statesman, managed to mobilize part of the Greeks to face the King Philip II of Macedon. Alongside the general Chares, Demosthenes led the Athenian army to join the army of Thebes, which, few years before that, had defeated the mighty Spartan army. And so the Thebans were seen as the best warriors of their era. Much of the reputation was due to the famous sacred band of Thebes. This dreaded band was formed by 150 couples of homosexual soldiers, chosen among the best soldiers of Boeotia. These fought side by side with their partners and stood out due to their spirit of camaraderie and unshakable bravery. This band ended the Spartan hegemony, defeating them in the Battle of Electra. The Greek and Macedonian armies were facing each other on the plain of Chaeronea. The Greeks had approximately 35,000 soldiers, whereas the Macedonian had 32,000. Philip II led the right wing of the Macedonian army, which would face the bulk of the Athenian army. Alexander in turn led the cavalry on the left wing, confronting the dreaded sacred band. The fearless Alexander was not intimidated by that risky task, which his father had ordered him to accomplish. The battle began, and the Macedonian army advanced against their enemies. The beginning of the battle was bloody, but the Macedonian phalanxes, although inferior in number, managed to contain the imperial impetus of the Greek phalanxes. Meanwhile, Alexander launched his attack, leading the cavalry of Heteroi against the Greek counterpart. On the right wing, Philip's forces began to cede ground to their enemies, who, feeling the taste of victory, impetuously advanced to attack. Meanwhile, the sacred band ripped the lives of those who tried to oppose them. Alexander defeated the enemy cavalry, and now Philip's brilliant strategy could be put into practice. In fact, the retreat of his men had not been a sign of weakness, but a strategy to divide the enemy line. And, seizing that breach, the Macedonian cavalry maneuvered and attacked the Athenian forces from the rear. On the left flank, Alexander readied the attack against the sacred band. These stuck their spears on the ground and prepared to withstand the charge, but Alexander and his companions faked a direct attack and just threw their darts. The Thebans used their shields as defense, but most of the shields were now useless, so the Thebans had to fight unprotected. Alexander's cavalry pushed the Thebans directly against the wall of spears of the Macedonian phalanxes. The battle was won. Both Thebans and Athenians fled to save their lives, except for the famous sacred band, which fought heroically until the fall of the last man. 2,000 Greek soldiers were killed, including all the soldiers of the sacred battalion, and over 4,000 were captured and sold as slaves. Philip's victory was decisive. Both the city of Athens and Thebes were on their knees before the power of the Macedonian army. After defeating the legendary band, Alexander was greeted by soldiers as the hero of the Battle of Chaeronea.